Grüß Gott and welcome to the first episode on Austria's cooking channel. I'm Mr. Austria and today we'll be making Sachertorte. This is a chocolate cake recipe originating in Vienna and Salzburg, and those are the only places where you can get the actual chocolate cake. This recipe is a recreation of it, designed to mimic the taste, but it's not the original recipe. So let's get started. Before we begin, I'm going to list the required ingredients. For the cake batter, we'll need 130 grams of butter, 130 grams of dark chocolate, 100 grams of powdered sugar, 6 eggs, 80 grams of white sugar, 130 grams of flour, and apricot marmalade. And for the icing, we need 150 grams of chocolate and 75 grams of coconut shortening. I will be providing the list of ingredients as well as cooking instructions in the comment box below, as well as a moderate conversion from the metric for any Americans who may be making this recipe. Now, let us begin. The first step is to melt the butter and dark chocolate in a double boiler. I do not own a double boiler, as I suspect many people do not own a double boiler. But it is an easy substitute by simply using 2 pots, one smaller than the other, with boiling water in the larger one. This cake is not going to be an exact science, so we'll see how it turns out. Always wash your hands. Sometimes multiple times during the cooking project. I washed them before I started the video, but I hate having dirty hands, and you should too, especially in the kitchen. The oven must be preheated to 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, which roughly converts to 375. I just like dark chocolate, but it's worse to waste things. This is the dark chocolate and the butter melting together. See how there is, well, almost boiling water in the larger pot. In a perfect world, this smaller pot would not be wet. It would be above the boiling water, and the steam from the boiling water would be melting the butter and the chocolate. Unfortunately, this is not a perfect world, and I'm not made of money, so here you go. This is something that I'll have to hold with my hand while it melts, because if I don't, then the water will probably boil over. Ah, the joys of cooking. It's coming along nicely though, look at that. And this is what the butter and dark chocolate should look like once it is melted. I have to wait for it to cool before I add the other ingredients. While the butter and dark chocolate cools in the pan over there, I will be separating the egg yolks from the egg whites. you didn't see that. And that is what an apron is for. Now, if you are as highly skilled with separating egg whites as I am, you will likely also have to clean egg off the counter when you're done. Please do this. There is nothing worse than having egg on the counter. After you have finished cleaning the egg off the counter, please put that dish rag in the laundry and get a new dish rag, because you don't want a dish rag cleaning your dishes that you used to clean raw egg off of the counter. Once the butter and chocolate has cooled, you want to start adding the powdered sugar and egg yolks gradually. And when you break the egg yolks, like I did, you'll have to scrape them out of the bowl. Now that I've mixed them together, I need to beat the egg whites and add the white sugar to them. This is not the ideal bowl to beat something in, so I'll be getting a metal bowl. This recipe does not specify to the extent that the egg whites need to be beaten, so I'm not going to beat them until they make stiff peaks, because it doesn't say to do that. They're fairly well mixed now, so I'm going to go ahead and add it to the rest of the batter. Next is the flour. See that? It looks very nice. So, now, this is a springform pan. What it does is it comes apart like this, so that you can get the cake out. These are generally used to make cheesecakes. If you do not have one of these, then you should find one, because I have no substitute to offer in this case. Grease the pan. Now pour the batter in. Now, once it's in the oven, we'll want to bake it for 50 to 60 minutes. See that? It's almost done. Just a few more minutes. I'm gonna have to stick something in it to make sure that it's finished. And then we can take it out. Here it is. This has finished cooking. I have to wait for it to cool completely before I remove it from the pan. Now, we'll get on with the icing. The coconut shortening will be substituting for coconut oil, which should be a decent substitute. So. Don't mind me, I'm just observing. Here is the ingredients for the icing: the coconut oil and the milk chocolate. This also needs to be melted in the double boiler, so once this water begins boiling, we'll start on that once more. Here is the cake, now removed from that part of the pan. Once it has fully cooled, I will be cutting it horizontally across the middle, right here, and adding the apricot preserves before putting the two pieces back together. Here I have removed the cake from this final part of the pan. It's still warm, so I'll have to wait for it to cool a bit more. And so while I wait for that, I also wait for this. This is the part of the recipe where we exercise patience. So the icing has finished melting. Once it cools a little bit, it should solidify a bit more, and then it'll be ready to spread over the top of this. I am now going to spread the apricot preserves in between both layers of the cake. It's best to leave a 3 to 5 centimeter border around the edge of the cake and the apricot preserves, because when you put the layers back together, it will, what's the word I'm looking for? Squish them outwards. Since this is not firming up quite as rapidly as I would like, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and let it cool in there for a little bit before I try to spread it over the cake. Now, while I'm waiting for the icing to firm up, I'm going to clean the counter, as so should you. And here we are. It's fairly much finished. It will be going in the refrigerator overnight because the apricot preserves need to be refrigerated. But after the icing hardens a little bit more, it'll be ready to eat. And thus the Sachertorte episode is concluded. I encourage you, now that you've seen this, to try the recipe for yourself. Questions, comments, criticisms are welcome. If anyone has a recipe request, please send it to the email connected to this account, herredelstein@yahoo.com. That's it. Thank you for watching.